today I was here at Brenda's house, and she's most graciously agreed to share her garden with us and all the gardening tips of an experienced gardener so that we can create the gardens that we love.
Hi, my name is Brenda, and welcome to my home and my yard. Two things that I dearly love. I have lived here for 35 years, and even though I lived other places, this is the first piece of ground that I ever owned. So when I started owning it, I started re-landscaping it and working with it and digging in the dirt whenever I had a chance. And then when I retired 10 years ago, it pretty much become my full-time thing. This is where I start in the mornings with my coffee, and I can look out across the backyard and down onto my patio, and we'll show you all. This is my patio garden, I call it. Basically started out as a garden with drift roses, and then I added daylilies, and then I just loved hibiscus. So I've got 2 of those potted this year. And recently finally found something I wanted to put on my patio table, even though I don't sit out here in the summertime, but I do enjoy it in the spring and fall. And the pollinators love, and I love, and you don't have to worry about watering it because just enough rain that we get is all it needs. And it loves the hot sun, which is very hot out here.
Where are your drift roses? Which one?
These 2 are the pink drift roses, one on either side. They're about 3 years old. They're drifting really well now. In fact, I have to cut them back sometimes.
Do you have any tips about how you maintain them? Because they're blooming here in the middle of summer. It is really hot.
Drift roses, once they get established, really don't require a lot of maintenance. When they have had a recent big bloom, I do pinch back the brown ones and give it a little trim from time to time. I fertilize them with a fertilizer that contains an insecticide in it. They're not really a big attractor for pollinators, and it keeps them from getting all the little different rose diseases and aphids and things like that.
Would that be considered a systemic fertilizer?
It is.
So what about this little area behind us that I'm working at with the beautiful marigolds?
These marigolds came up from last year. As I deadheaded them, I just threw them back in the pot. So these nice big ones came back on their own this year. I have the sage, which comes back from seed every year. I have rosemary. I have oregano. And down here is a good bit of thyme. Likes the shade it gets from the sage.
Your garden in the back?
Yes. This is the dog pen. But of course, when I had a piece of fence, I had to landscape it. I'm real pleased I was able to get a start off of my native honeysuckle, and I've got it going back here. There was this natural gap between the hedge here. There's enough sun to put honeysuckle. A few little dwarf cannas.
How large do those get? Because I know cannas can get huge.
These only get like this, 3-4 feet.
That's a nice size.
You rarely find them. The main reason I picked them out, they were a different color. Cannas are usually red, orange, or yellow, and this is a pretty rose color. And they're pretty much no care. And the flax lily does really well here too. It's no care whatsoever.
Does that have a bloom?
A nondescript little thing that comes out, but it's basically grown for its foliage, and it's a vertical highlight in the garden, and the variegation is a nice contrast to all the green. I have African irises here, which have stopped blooming. They're white with a purple center, and it's very hardy. Marcus, my dog, likes to run and jump in it, but I don't fuss at him because the plant seems to bloom even better.
This looks like a canna lily.
These are cannas.
That's a beautiful variegated leaf.
Yeah, I like the variegated leaves. I have other cannas, but they don't have the variegation on the leaves. These are what my family calls Mississippi 4 o'clocks. They were a beautiful plant that I saw in Mississippi when we were visiting friends. I asked them where they got them, and they said, oh, just grab a handful of seed. So I did, and that was 20 years ago. They come back every year. They reseed prolifically. You don't have to do anything to them. Pull up the dead stalks in the fall.
How did they get that name? Is that about their blooming?
Yes, they bloom when it's dusky. During the bright heat of the day, as you can see, they're all closed up. But at night, they will open to a trumpet that's about that big. The hummingbirds love them. It's not a Florida native, it should be.
A plumbago, right? The
Right.
blue one.
It blooms profusely, attracts butterflies, all kinds of pollinators. We cut it back to about a foot tall every year in the late spring, and then we get huge plant every year. It's easy to propagate as well. This is my fig tree. It grows the brown turkey figs, and I get enough figs off of this one tree to make 3 batches of preserves every year. And it's high enough that the birds and squirrels get the ones at the top. I just pick the ones I can reach.
Could you share how you maintain it? Because this is a magnificent specimen.
I don't maintain it. In the summer, when it is really hot and we're not having the rains, I use one of those sprinklers that does the squirt thing to get my roses and my hedge and all of this. And so it gets water then artificially. After it was about 2 years old, I didn't really have to do anything to it. It just grows.
How about fertilize?
No, I don't.
So this is what you'd call a low maintenance.
Very low maintenance. And if you like figs, which I like to eat them, but they don't keep very long. So you either eat them that day or you wait a couple days and then you make your preserves. I suppose you could freeze them, but I don't. This is a dune sunflower because there was this big expanse of nothing here. I put a small one in 2 months ago, watered it for about a week, and then just let it go. I knew it would fill in this large area really quickly, and it did. In this area, I put one tomato plant in there, and it kind of took over.
What kind of tomato did you plant?
It's called a Sweet 100 because it makes about 100 little tiny cherry tomatoes, and they're so sweet. But I didn't know it was going to do this well. It's jumped on top of everything else.
That's a great idea to have edibles in your garden.
When I have a spot that's vacant, I go ahead and put some. There's also 2 banana pepper plants in here that I just pick some from them, but they just all grow together. There's a banana pepper.
And what is this blooming here?
This is a butterfly vine. There's the actual blossom. But they're nicknamed a butterfly vine because once they blossom, then they make this lovely thing that looks like a butterfly.
What garden area do you call this here? It's very pretty.
This is transitional. It used to be a shade garden because these Bradford pears, which are old, used to hang all over here. And the hurricanes last year pretty much took all the limbs on this side. I still have a holly fern from the shade garden has adapted. This I don't know the name of, but it's just a really nice shade plant. And in the fall, it makes stalks of flowers with yellow on them.
And what about afternoon sun?
So afternoon sun it does not get. So that's probably why it has survived well.
Beautiful foliage.
I like it because the cutting of the foliage. I like to work with different shapes and some vertical, some spreading, some round, some tall, and then this is almost a fern-like thing. This is Formosa indica azalea, the purple kind. I cut it way back every year. I usually hand prune these, and what I mean by hand pruning them is in the spring after they've bloomed. I'll go all the way in here and take this whole thing out where it's got a long stem and go and take one by one, and then you end up with a smaller bush. And they seem to get thicker every year when you do it that way. I like this area to be as natural as possible. I don't like to prune them with the clippers. This whole thing used to be shade garden, but this is what's left of it, a bulb. It multiplies profusely with these long sword-like things, which get almost 2 in the spring, but then they bloom beautiful orange flowers. Some of them are yellow, and they're just so natural looking. So what I do, when they finish blooming and in the fall when they're brown, I just pull them up and end up pulling up a lot of bulbs, but they spread so quickly it doesn't matter.
How about this beautiful clump of plants behind you in the shade?
This is a cast iron plant, and I think it's called that for two reasons. First of all, as they age and get a little weather beaten, they have this rust kind of look to them. But this is definitely one you can't kill. It will grow in shade. It will also amazingly grow in the sun. I put a couple of little sprigs that I got from my work. That was 15 years ago.
And where you've got them growing is obviously a right location for this plant, having the shade from the Bradford pear up above them.
This is my little shade garden, and it's a beautiful place to me. Very quiet. I have my egret, which I'm very proud of, and he's metal, but several times recently, I have found other egrets, and last week a stork land right here and feed along with him. So he looks real to them too. These are all my bunnies. Every year my daughter gets an Easter bunny on her grave because sadly I lost her 13 years ago. And after the bunny has lived there through the Easter season, he gets to be part of the garden. So that's why I have so many little bunnies popping out from everywhere. Here is the mother of the butterfly vines. It all started here, and every year it gets quite large, and I just cut it back. You can see all the nice yellow coming up. All different kinds of salvia this year, and actually this one did way better than I expected and overtook a lot of the other ones.
It looks like the blue salvia mystic spires.
It spreads like crazy.
And these little yellow.
How beautiful it does in the sun.
Yep, and there's one of the bunnies.
There's another bunny here. And the plaque that I painted years ago. This is Amy's garden. This was the first garden that I had in this yard. And then it's just every year I end up planting more.
And this large plant in the back, that's looking familiar. I've got
Salt
one.
and pepper plant. It's kind of leggy and I don't think that pretty, but look at the pollinators on it. They love it.
It's blooming. Is that a fennel?
Fennel. Yeah, some people call it brown fennel. Great food plant for black swallowtails and also for Luna moths.
I love seeing this because I have one that you shared with me. Thank you so much. And I did not realize what the mature size is going to look like.
And many more of these lovely bulbs. I actually bought them years and years ago. And there were just a couple, but then they went crazy. Those are just azaleas coming up from the bottom.
And behind them is a larger azalea.
That's the Formosa indica, the purple.
So the middle, the big one is the purple.
And the one to the right is the pink, the hot pink. These were here when I bought the house 35 years ago. So these are very old, mature azaleas, and I do keep them cut back, otherwise they'd be humongous.
Sounds like they make a fabulous foundation plant. And these here, these lovely yellow ones?
Those are the same as those others, just some of them are yellow and some of them are orange. This is an encore azalea. It's the double pink. It's of the Autumn Gems collection. And I have two more over here, but they all bloom on their own time frame, but at least twice a year, if not 3 times a year. And this is all Confederate jasmine. It was just covered this year. White, beautiful blossoms.
And that makes a wonderful screening plant.
Yes. I built this tiny little vent just from here to here to hide all of my gardening stuff because I don't really have an outdoor shed or a carport. My original native Florida honeysuckle, and it has taken in this whole area, and it provides shade for my dog. He crawls up under there and has a nice little nest. This is basically my bulb bed. We have lots of different kinds of daylilies. I have what people call the Seminole daylilies. They're a dark burgundy with a yellow center. I use a lot of society garlic. It just fills in the places.
Perennial lilies here in the middle. And the one thing about them is that you have to be very careful, keep them in line because they will spread everywhere, even into the driveway. All these daylilies are double orange, really, really pretty. Amongst these, and it's kind of hard to tell the difference unless you know, are probably 40 amaryllis.
And those
in there.
bloom when?
Early spring.
And what color are they?
Most of mine are red. I have some apple blossom, which is the pretty pink and white. And then I have some that are hybridized, so they're red and white striped. And then the second thing that happens is the Easter lilies. And when these all bloom, there's just a sea of white over here.
So this is what's left from the blooming Easter lilies. And when do those bloom for you?
Right after the amaryllis.
Which would be?
They don't bloom till like May because they never make it for Easter. They make it like 2 weeks after Easter.
Anything else about this garden?
I'd just like to say that even though this looks ugly, if you want lilies and you want them to come back pretty every year, you've got to let them turn completely brown like this before you cut them off.
That reminds me of what you do with daffodils. You let them completely die back. You don't cut the green back.
Yes, you just leave them be and let the leaves just dry up, and it fertilizes them for the next year.
What 3 quick garden tips could you give us to help us be successful gardeners?
Number 1, do your research before you plant. You can't just take a plant that's pretty and just stick it in a place that you want it to be pretty. You have to check out the sun requirements and the soil requirements and the watering requirements and make sure it matches the area you're putting it in. I have had some that didn't do well with trial and error, but basically now I do my research, and sometimes I have to turn down a pretty plant that I really want to be there because it's just not going to do well. My number 1 gardening tip, which will be 2 for y'all, is prepare your soil right and plant it right. I always add compost and then fertilizer and dig a way bigger hole than need be and make sure that soil is all loose before I plant, and then put it in there at the same level it came to you in the pot. And I do mulch mostly for my own good so there's not as many weeds to pull and for beauty.
Now, when you add fertilizer, could you tell us what kind you use?
I love the Fertilome bedding plant food. It is high on the phosphate part. It promotes blooming, and it works for a good 3 months and gives the plants a really good start. My 3rd tip is just take care of them. Spend time looking at them. I probably walk my gardens every day and just see what needs what and take care of it from there. What needs watering, what needs pinching, and love your plants and they'll love you back.
What final encouragement could you give our gardeners so that they can be successful and create the gardens they love?
Basically, just anybody can garden. Make it small, make it according to the time that you have to spare, to take care of. Some people only do container gardening, but anyone can garden and anyone can get the benefits of looking at the beautiful flowers and letting them enhance your life. Don't be afraid to try.
Hope you enjoyed the walk around of Brenda's beautiful garden here in Madison County. That's Zone 9A. Experience to share? Please comment below. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe. Garden Yay! For more gardening tips, gardening tours, and information to make you a successful gardener. See you again soon.